What's going on, Master Duel fans? James here again. It's time for a unique tech talk that I have been running rampantly in terms of the current season at the time recording that this video is getting posted. And this time, we are going to talk one of the unique extra deck techs that I find this card to be a underwhelming of all underwhelming extra deck cards. And that extra deck tech happens to be Maple Maiden, a level 7 Wind Fairy Synchro that requires one tuner and one or more non-tuner monsters, so completely generic. And in terms of stat lineup, 2100 attack, 2600 defense. When it comes to Maple Maiden, if this card is special summon, doesn't matter how she's special summoned, you can declare one attribute. This card gains the supernatural effect. Everybody that is face up becomes that attribute. And then its other effect is, you can target one monster in your opponent's main monster zone. Your opponent must send one card from among its adjacent, aka next to, monster zones or spell and trap zones to the graveyard. You can only use each effect of Maple Maiden once a turn. Now, why do I find Maple Maiden to be like one of the most unique tech cards? Let's just go over the applications in terms of the use of the effects. When it comes to Maple Maiden, in terms of the first effect, where everybody that is face up becomes that attribute, this is literally DNA transplant. As in, declare one attribute, everybody becomes that attribute. So the way how this works in some niche situations involving this generic synchro card is that in terms of combo lines, you can always perform link summons that requires the specific attributes in any shape or form. So most cases, we're going to start backwards and then we will work our way up. So let's say if you want to turn everything dark, that means you can do Dark, the Dark Charmer, as well as Wee Witch's Apprentice. And then for the lights, that would be Hippo Shinnigan, as well as the lineup, the Light Charmer. And then it's basically each attribute matches in terms of link summoning and so on, like Mrs. Radiant and Osa in terms of Earths, Area, and Miss Starboy being Waters, Little Chimera, and Hita being Fires in terms of requirements, and then Great Fly as well as Wind, the Wind Charmer. Basically, Maple Maiden can help you fix your attributes, depends on what link summoning that you wanted to do in your extra deck, or whatever extra deck cards in general that requires certain attributes. That should help you fix a simplified game state so you can keep comboing off like no tomorrow. And then the secondary effect. When it comes to the keywords, your opponent must send. The fact that it says your opponent must send, and because you are making them do that, it basically means you are able to clear out monsters that are unaffected by everything else. So in any niche scenario, if I expect to see one monster in the main monster zone that is unaffected by everything else in any shape or form, with a random monster of any kind, if Maple Maiden ever sees that, I could just have Maple Maiden target the random monster, and it makes it so that your opponent must send something that is next to in the zone in terms of spells or traps or monsters. So in terms of monsters specifically, let's say if I expect to see something, for example, Underworld Goddess of the Closed World, assuming that if she were to be in the main monster zone specifically, yes, she's unaffected by your opponent's activated effects unless they targeted the card. But because Maple Maiden says your opponent must send, assuming that Underworld Goddess is in the main monster zone, if they don't have no closed or unoccupied zone for a spell trap, that Underworld Goddess gets sent to the graveyard. And this also applies to literally every monster that is unaffected by everything else, and assuming that if they don't have no unoccupied spells and traps and one random monster that's next to a Towers monster. So that means you can get rid of cards off of the main monster zone, such as the Raid Raptor Xyz, Great Magnus, Psychic and Punisher, Blackwing Towers, and many more in terms of monsters that says unaffected by everything else. Let me know down in the comments below about what you guys think of Maple Maiden. To me, I find one of the most underwhelming sleeper cards that no one has ever come across. And when it comes to Maple Maiden about how to apply this card correctly, it's basically they have to play around the zones correctly. Otherwise, once Maple Maiden shows up, that opponent will never expect to happen to come across Maple Maiden, and it makes it so that if they don't have answers to stop the secondary effect about clearing cards, she's able to break through. Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in on this unique tech talk. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and if you haven't already, smash the notification bell to keep yourself constantly updated, and we'll catch you guys next time.